Who in the room started a small business over COVID? And how did that go? I thought it would be a great idea to start a little crystal shop while everybody's stuck at home and living online. But it did not turn out the way I had anticipated, but I wasn't doing myself any favors. I had a lot going on and I was way too busy to focus on the growth of my little starter business. And today I'm going to tell you how that went. I had returned from the Maldives early 2020, and I started working for a mining company at the time. And because it was kind of the height of COVID, I was working fully remote. There were some opportunities to go into the office and meet some of the team members, but for the most part, I was hired remote. I was expected to work remote, and that was my day to day. So I was working full time. I was finishing a degree and I was also managing a couple investment properties. And I thought it was a great time to start an online business. I had been following a lot of pages on Instagram, some crystal shops here and there, some tarot readers. And I was doing a lot of meditating. I was diving into the spirituality world quite a bit at the time. And I thought it would be a great time to open a little crystal shop of my own. So I started Mystic Moon Gallery. And at first, I just started up a Shopify page. And I was like, great, I'm going to sell crystals online. But if I'm going to sell crystals online, I need crystals. So in order to buy crystals wholesale, I need a business number. So I need to incorporate. So I got incorporated, I got registered. And I was starting to look for wholesalers, and I found one in Vancouver. So I decided I was going to drive all the way to Vancouver, buy a whole bunch of inventory, and drive all the way back in a day. So as I was getting ready to go to Vancouver to get a whole bunch of inventory, I was looking online, and this was like the height of COVID. So everyone's looking for activities to do. I was camping a lot with my family. And I thought to myself, I should get a bowler camper. I should get one of those cute little campers everybody has. They were like so popular. And I found one in Vancouver. So I thought, great, I'm going to go buy a whole bunch of inventory and I'm going to buy this little camper and I'll sleep in it on the way back and it'll be great. So I headed to Vancouver. I found a vendor. I bought like $10,000 worth of crystals. It was like the best. I love crystals. I love rocks and minerals. I'm an environmental scientist and I did spend a lot of time studying geology. So I'm into crystals in the metaphysical sense, but I'm also into crystals for their geological properties. I think they're fascinating. So buying $10,000 worth of crystal inventory was so much fun for me, and to see all the cool pieces and trying not to buy them for myself was more challenging than I thought it would be. But I survived it. I got my inventory. And then I was going to meet with the lady that had the bowler camper, and I was all ready to buy it. It was like $13,000. So I just dropped all this money on rocks, and I'm about to buy this camper. So I meet with the lady and we're going to the bank, and there were kind of like some hiccups in between. And I was looking over the camper. It looked a little bit more run down than it appeared online. And I was a little bit hesitant, and I was driving myself like through the mountains back with this camper. And something about it just like kind of started putting me off. Like, maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe I shouldn't spend all this money on this. Like, I just started at this job. I'm starting this new business. I have all these upfront costs that are kind of unexpected. Do I need to be buying this camper? I'm like, yeah, it'll be great. I'll use it a lot. I'll go camping all summer. But right before I was about to give her the check and take the bowler home, I just kind of like had this manic break. And I was like, no, I can't buy this camper. Like, I can't do this. I'm so sorry. And she was like, oh, no, it's no problem. Like, no pressure. That's fine. Thank God. So I'm driving home with all of these beautiful crystals, and I'm so excited to weigh them and get them into inventory. I'm also like working full time and working on some major projects at work. So a lot of my focus had to be there. I had assignments due, and I wanted to get this shop up and running like right away. I thought it would be like such a hit because I see all these other crystal shops online and on Instagram doing so well. And I was like, great, like let's dive in. So I get home, I get everything uploaded into Shopify. Building out that web page was so much more work than I had anticipated. I'm not a web developer. I'm not technically inclined at all. Like, thank God for AI because I ask Gemini all the time what is going wrong when I have technical challenges. Gemini is basically on payroll as my IT department, but I figured it out. I got the site loaded. I got all my crystals in the shop and I went live. This was my first kind of intro into making reels and promoting a page and figuring out how to use Instagram and how to run an online shop. And it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of really good feedback. I was selling to my friends and family mostly, but there were also a couple people who ordered online, and it was, really starting to get a little bit of traction. And I was excited. I was getting more followers online, but kind of in the middle of it, I don't know if this was a response from COVID or some kind of psychological thing that happened because I was isolated and I couldn't interact with people for so long. But I kind of went through this manic episode, and starting the crystal shop was kind of manic. Like, it was an idea I had and I just went full force on it. Like, I was doing 12-hour days on weekends, just like building out this crystal shop and trying to figure out what it looked like and what kind of inventory would I have? Where do I get vendors? How do I run a business? How do I start a business? At this point, I had not been to business school, so I don't know all of the elements that are included in running a small business. And I was kind of just going on a hope and a prayer that it would all work out. And it did for the most part, but like the idea and the intensity that came behind opening the crystal shop, I had this sudden realization that I was just doing a lot. Like, I had a lot going on and I could manage it all, but I couldn't manage it all well. And I knew something had to give. So I kind of took a step back and thought about what I was doing and asked myself if it was really realistic to double down on the crystal shop while I'm working full time and finishing a degree and managing properties and doing what felt like everything at the same time. And I really wanted the business to be a success, but I realized in order to grow something, it needs your 100% attention. And I didn't really feel like I could give it all I had at the time. And I also kind of went through this spiritual journey where I was following a lot of pages like Doreen Virtue and some other similar accounts. And if anyone's familiar with Doreen Virtue, she was very much an advocate for spirituality, and she had a whole bunch of tarot cards that she had printed and made and books that she wrote. And she had this real sudden transition where she just abandoned all of that and went straight to the Bible and just like totally converted right back into Christianity. And her page was full of just verses from the Bible. And she just kind of found Jesus, I guess, and had this whole like spiritual transition. And a number of the pages that I was watching at the time did the same thing. And I don't know if that was like a catalyst to that because she was quite an influence to a lot of people in the spiritual community. And I had noticed that. And through COVID, through the experience that was COVID, I just felt like a lot of my actions were very impulsive and I was meditating a lot and I didn't really enjoy how I was feeling when I was meditating. I know that not everybody has this, but I am very intuitive. I always have been. I've been intuitive my whole life. I'm not a medium. I'm not a psychic. I don't do readings, but I have been able to sense things in a different way. It's kind of like a sixth sense. Like I sense things that are coming before they happen. I understand things a little differently than others. And everybody has a different level of intuition. So when I was meditating and I started not feeling very good, or I started encountering different sensations that didn't really feel like they belonged, and watching Doreen Virtue have this like complete 180, I kind of started to feel like, oh, maybe she's onto something. Maybe you shouldn't go to mediums and you should be wary of psychics and all of this stuff. And I kind of just went into like this manic state of like, no, this isn't for me. I can't run a crystal business. Like, I have to read the Bible. I have to like get back into this. I have to get grounded. And I think more than anything, it wasn't that getting readings and seeking spiritual guidance is bad. It was more, I would think I was just getting too lost in meditation and too lost in the spiritual realm and working with all of these crystals and the vibrations and everything else. And I wasn't grounded. Like I wasn't rooting myself in the here and the now and the present and what is going on around me. And I feel like that's what kind of spurred a lot of like the manic behavior that I was displaying, like deciding to open a crystal shop and like going all in, and then deciding to buy a camper and going all in and spending all this crazy money and going to all of these places. Like, I think I did everything in like 2 weeks. And I think when the dust settled, I just came back to a place where I needed to focus on one thing at a time and I needed to ground myself in the present. And so I made the decision to shut down the crystal shop after only like 9 months of it being live, and it was gaining traction. It was probably the worst thing I could have done because I have since reopened the crystal shop. It is on my page. It's on the website under meredithmediagroup.com. You can find it. I've rebranded as The Vault. There's a very small collection because I have sold quite a bit through time, just people visiting Facebook Marketplace, like a little here and there. But in hindsight, that really hurt me to kind of shut that down because by doing that, I've kind of like stalled the progress of my initial launch. And now trying to start over, it's a little bit harder than you think. And so the initial launch of my little crystal shop did not quite go as planned. And it was very manic. It was very chaotic. I could not give it the time and attention that it deserved. So it didn't go very far. I closed it and I had all of these crystals. But when I was buying this much inventory in the first place, I kind of thought to myself, well, what's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is absolutely nobody buys any of these. And I have $10,000 worth of crystals in my house. And I love crystals. I love rocks. Regardless of where I'm at spiritually, like I still love rocks and minerals. I love fossils. I do feel like they have a special vibration. They've got unique patterns. They're beautiful pieces. Gemstones, obviously. What girl doesn't love those? But I felt like, well, the worst that could happen is I have all of these rocks and I love them. So I didn't really consider, well, the worst that could happen is you spend all this money and then you don't have any money. But I was working at the time, so I felt like, no, like I'll keep making money. That's fine. I can recover. But I invested a lot. I think starting this little business from this manic idea that I had in this little episode over COVID cost me like $25,000 at the end of the day, between incorporating, buying equipment, getting all the Shopify stuff set up, subscriptions. You guys, when you start a business, you don't really realize how much subscriptions are actually going to cost you. And figuring out what you actually need versus what can wait. Because I'm the type of person that, like, if I decide to do something, I need everything, I need the best, I need it all at once. And that's how I approached this crystal shop. I was like, hey, I need a lawyer, I need an accountant, I need to incorporate, I need all this. Like, I'm going all in, but I'm not really considering, okay, you still work full time, you're managing investment properties, and you're finishing a degree. Like, realistically, I wasn't able to go all in, but I was building it like I was going to go all in. And that's what hurt me in the end because I did not have the time or the resources to do it justice. And if I did want to keep growing it, then I would have needed to hire some people to manage it while I did all these things on the side and created a vision and a direction for the business. But I really did not feel like I was in a place financially to hire people to manage that. And I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know the potential that it had. And that's kind of where I drew the line. So it wasn't investing in the startup. It wasn't going 25 grand in that made me pause. It was, oh no, I need to hire people to do this because I just realized I do not have capacity to do this properly. That's what made me pause. So yeah, after only about 9 months of the shop actually being open, I shut it down regretfully. But it also felt like the right thing to do. I feel like COVID just kind of spurred these manic characteristics out of me. I was very impulsive. I was behaving very out of character. and I was having an idea and then going 100 on that idea. And that's not always a bad thing. That is kind of how I am still a little bit, but I'm a little more realistic and cautious in my ideas these days. And I don't know if that was like just the COVID psychosis that other people went through or if it was just me, but yeah, that whole moment was very chaotic for me. But now I feel like I'm in a much better place to kind of revive that initial urge to own a crystal shop. I still have most of my inventory. I still have my vendors. I still have connections that I made. And I started a whole new webpage where I think the look is better, the feel is better. I've incorporated my podcast on that page as well, so you can find all the episodes there. And the lesson that I learned throughout the process and over the years is that your first attempt is not a failure, it's the path to success. And you can't expect to do something absolutely perfect on your very first try. And you have to give yourself grace to fail a few times before you really understand what the game is you're playing and what arena you're playing in and all of the elements that you couldn't possibly have foreseen. But giving yourself grace to fail gives you permission to start. And I think that just the fact that you're starting anywhere, starting small, is a huge step and should be celebrated. Because ultimately, the lesson is success is a result of your past failures. You can't succeed until you've failed a few times. And I think everybody hears it and everybody knows that, but nobody really incorporates it into the things that they want to do. And if you want to do something and if you want to try something new, you have to give yourself permission to fail because you're not going to get it exactly right on the first try. And if you do, that's amazing. Like, keep that momentum, keep going. But if you stumble a few times, that's okay too. And if you're just starting out, then you probably don't have a big audience. You probably don't have a lot of people watching. Maybe you don't tell anybody when you first start and you just try until you get comfortable. And that's okay. Everybody starts in a different way, but the important thing is that you start doing the thing that you really want to do. So many people have dreams and ideas and they want to start their own business and they want to do this, they want to work for themselves. But it is terrifying to leave the security of a company that you work for and the pension and this and that, especially if you have a family that you're supporting, if you have parents you're supporting or other dependents in your life. And you can start small. I just encourage you to start when you have capacity to start, because starting a small business is so much more work than I had ever anticipated. I thought it was just something I could do on the side of my desk, and it is not. Even just building out the new webpage to host the podcast and the crystal shop, it was a lot more work than I remember. And trying to remember how everything is and the changes in technology and self-teaching myself again how all of this works. And this is with a business degree. Like, I'm actually set this time and I'm still struggling through it, but I don't think there's a perfect path to any of this. And I think every entrepreneur is about the same. It's kind of like YOLO, let's go and figure it out on the way. You can't find out if you don't fuck around. So this is where I'm at, and this is kind of the approach that I'm taking with my new business ventures. I'm going in with experience. I still don't know much, and what I'm doing now is in an arena I know nothing about. So I'm learning as I go, and I'm giving myself grace to fail. And I hope that whatever I have to say helps someone at the end of the day. That's the whole reason I'm doing this, is that something I've lived and something I've experienced has either inspired someone else to pursue something they're passionate about, or it helps put someone at ease to know that they're not alone in whatever they're going through. So with that, if you're enjoying these lessons, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, and follow along for more.